What's up, guys? Operator Poopski here, and today we're going to go over the optics in the game. That's all we're doing in this video because there's quite a few, and they're different depending on which class you're using, and they're also sometimes a little different depending on which faction you're in. So let's dress this up, eh? Okay, so we'll go through every class and just kind of take a look at what it looks like on each gun. Um, so just a little disclaimer, just about everything that you see in this game exists in real life and typically goes by a different name. You might be familiar with what those names are, and honestly, this video you might not even bother watching this if you're already familiar with this stuff. Again, these videos are for beginners, people who are not only new to Onward or have never even played it, but maybe aren't even familiar with guns. So I'm going to be using the terminology in the game only so as to not confuse anyone who doesn't know the real world names for it. For example, the 4X scope, people would typically call that an ACOG. But for these purposes, I'm going to call it a 4X scope. So we'll just start from the top and work our way down. Obviously, the iron sights are what you start with. I know in some games the iron sights will, like you'll be able to bring your gun up faster if you don't have any optics on it and you're only using iron sights. I don't think that's how this game works. If somebody knows better than that, leave a comment and let me know. But we'll start with the red dot, and this is, the easiest sight to work with, I think. It's not exactly long range, but you have such a clear sight picture. There's nothing really going on except that dot, and something that's important to note, that everything looks great when you're not getting shot at, but even if you're a little bit suppressed and you start getting that haze around your screen, it can get really hard to line up a shot, even if someone's standing right out in the open. If you're really suppressed, sometimes you can't see anything, and you're kind of just hoping that you're taking good cover or moving in the right direction. Now, that being said, some sights, like say the 4X or the 12X, you don't have a light, a dot, or a color. You just have the cross, and well, that cross is black. So when you're getting suppressed and everything around you is turning black, it doesn't exactly help to have more black to try and line up a shot. So that's where dot sights really, really shine, no pun intended, because even though you can't hear anything because there's gunfire everywhere, and you can't see anything because you're being suppressed, sometimes just seeing that red dot placed on a black silhouette is all you need to pop off an effective shot. So the red dot sight is probably, I only know my experience, but I'm going to say it's probably one of the most favorite sights. Again, at range, it becomes a little bit more tricky because there's really no magnification to it, but you can still manage a shot. You might have to take a bit more time, or you might miss on the first one, but it's not that hard to do a second follow-up. But obviously where it shines is in the CQC, so we'll go take it to the CQC range real quick. Yeah, now you can see how easy it is to maneuver with this, and I'm using an assault rifle. Now imagine a red dot on a submachine gun, which we'll get into that later. Yeah. It's my favorite sight. It's awesome. I use it as much as some other ones? Maybe not, though, because sometimes you do need that magnification, and we'll see what that's like in with the next optic. So here we have the 4X. As I said before, you have that black line and a little bit of magnification. Not too much. You can still see. You can still kind of keep your awareness. And as far as sniping goes, it's pretty effective without you getting too zoomed in. Oh, well, I hit that, didn't I? Now, I am not a fan of this sight. I don't like the crosshairs. They're too small. It's too easy to lose them. No, I mean, it's you're definitely going to lose them when you're being suppressed, but I lose them just as I'm moving around and trying to shoot. I wouldn't say it's a bad sight. That's just my opinion. I'm not a fan of it. I've definitely seen some guys be effective with it, and it's good because it's a good sight to just keep on your gun, because as you change maps, you have some smaller maps, some big maps, some gigantic maps, and some super tiny maps. The 4X is going to work pretty much anywhere you are. And I'll take this opportunity to point out one of my favorite sights to add, and that is the angled sight. So let's say something like the ACOG, or I'm sorry, let's say something like the 4X. Let's say you're getting in close, whatever map you're on. Let's say you're on Downfall, and you have some really gigantic ranges to shoot at, right? So you have your ACOG, but then sometimes you can get inside some of those buildings or the villas, and you can pop that guy on and do some close range corner taking. I love this angled sight, and you can get one on the left side too if you're a left-handed shooter, or if for whatever reason you like to do that, if you're all into Metal Gear. But I typically stick with the right sight. This thing is awesome. It takes a little bit of getting used to, because you have to realize that you have to keep your gun slanted, which is, if you're not using a virtual stock, it might be honestly unusable, because it's just too hard to keep it lined up. But why wouldn't you be using a virtual stock or a real stock? I love this thing. It does suffer from recoil, even if your gun doesn't have a whole lot of recoil. You see how that pops up? It takes a while to come back down, but with a little bit of practice, you can get a good hang of it. Yeah, so cool. So cool. Yeah, now this is the 2X holographic, where you have the same holographic sight that you can put on, but you have a magnifier that you can flip should you want magnification. It's definitely not the prettiest sight picture, but if you have a virtual stock, look how close that thing gets brought up. This is probably my most effective, and overall my preferred loadout is to take the 2X with the holographic should I want some mid-range shooting, and then I also do the angled sight. And no, I'm not trying to be a douchebag with just a bunch of stuff on my gun. I'm not too fond of sitting there changing my loadouts in between games, because I just want to get into the next game, and I don't want to keep people waiting. So I just take all three. So this will work. And whether it's on the M39, or whether it's on the M16 or the MK16 or the MK17, whatever, this will work in any map. It'll get the job done no matter what you have to do. Now, that being said, you're working with 3 different sights, so you can't just slap this on and be like, yeah, I'm good. You need to get familiar with using it. This thing, to me, I do my best sniping with the 2X. I can't do the 12X scope. I'm just not good with that. And I already said I can't do the 4X either. So this is what I can do. I think that was a headshot. Oh! Haha, how about that? So some things to note. So when you pop that over, that angled sight is blocked. So just bear that in mind. So I actually rarely even use the holographic. What I normally do is I just keep this one up, and should I need to take a quick corner, just pop it over. Actually, I rarely flip this over unless I know that I won't be taking any corners and I'm not sure at what range someone's going to pop out of. But I know that I'm not doing any long-range shooting. But that's just me. You have your options. I would say if you're doing any sort of burst fire or full automatic fire, you would want the holographic sight, because the recoil on this one might be a bit too much. But try it out, man. Get the 2X and get the angled sight. And also make sure, try the right one, try the left one, see which one works for you. I would assume that most right-handed players would want the left. Maybe the left. Yeah, you know what? Let's try the left real quick. Maybe I'm just a jerk. Let's see. You know what? It doesn't feel natural to me because I've never used it before, but it's not awful. I think for the sake of moving while shooting, I don't know if that's very effective for me, but I think it could certainly be effective for someone else. So before you stick to one, make sure you try the left or the right and see what you like more. I also took the liberty of slapping on an OEG red dot. So there's 2 red dot sights. The first one that I showed you, and then this one. It doesn't offer any magnification. I guess it does offer you sort of like some boundaries that help you maybe focus on your target more. But I'll tell you the truth, I do not like this red dot sight. I never use it. I'm not a fan of it. If I'm going to have a red dot, I want the minimal one. But that's me. Try it out. Yeah. I mean, it seems practical in a real life setting so that you could actually cover it and close it so it won't get dirty, but just ain't real life. And I guess I shouldn't neglect to mention that you can also just take a holographic sight. There's no magnification, and you have a pretty clear sight picture. It's boxed in a little bit, but not too much like the OEG. But I'll tell you the truth, and this goes for the same as for the 2X holographic. I don't like the reticle. I don't like it at all. It's too big. It's confusing to me. I don't know, maybe just because I'm an idiot. I need something simple. I need that tiny red dot. But I don't like it. That being said, I see a lot of people using it, so I might be the minority in that. But and maybe I'm just too particular. I don't know, but that's me. Anyways, there's also the holographic sight. But honestly, if you have the points, why wouldn't you take the 2X? So you have that magnification. I don't know. Okay, so we'll move on to the specialists. And you more or less have the same sights available to you. Well, you have less options under the specialist weapons because you don't really need any magnification for a submachine gun or a personal defense weapon. So you're pretty much limited to a red dot or holographic sight or the iron sights. That goes for the MK18, MP5, P90, the M1014. You can take, yep, that's the same. 5.52 Commando. If you want to do some work, slap a red dot on the 5.52. That's what's up. That's what's up. No attachments or anything for the ballistic shield. It is an attachment. So, as I said earlier, that red dot sight is going to give you some real flexibility and speed when you're using a smaller gun in a close quarters combat. We'll go check it out real quick. Oh, geez, hopefully you do better than I did. So it's not just necessarily as far as a specialist goes. People always default to an M16 or or just any assault rifle, battle rifle, but you don't have this kind of movement. And, maybe you don't want to be John Wick or wherever you go. And maybe for the most part, you're going to need stopping power. But, the right gun for the right situation, the right tool for the right job. Yeah, so specialist optics are pretty straightforward. Holographic, red dot. I don't know, they cost the same. I don't know why you'd take a red dot over a holographic. So moving on to support. Now, these can get a little interesting because you have all the same options as a rifleman on all of the same guns. All three of them have all the same options. Well, with the exception of a red dot. That's interesting, isn't it? How come you get the OEG and all that, but you don't get a red dot? Now, I would say if you're using either of the LMGs, why wouldn't you take the 2X? I mean, why wouldn't you take more options when you're in a support role? Especially if you have the bipod and you're covering your buddies. You know? You're covering them at mid-range, but then you spot a squad further out. Why can't I murder that back target? Come on. There we go. Yeah, I mean, look at that. And then you can always just switch back. Otherwise, your other option is the 4X, which is great and all, but I already told you why that one suffers. And then otherwise, you're only taking a holographic. I think as a support role, you want to be as supportive as you can be. Yeah, you definitely need a foregrip, though. I couldn't take one because of the point values in the shooting range, but yeah. And, you know, let's say now you're trying to be conservative with your fire, but also be support. You take the L86, slap that foregrip on there with the 2X. I mean, look at that. It's murderous. Savage. Get up close. I mean, you know, it's 2X all the way down, isn't it? I suppose I can give you one exception if you're the type of person that is good with the 4X scope, and you want to be a support, semi-support, semi-sniper. You take the M16A4 under support class, so you have those 7 magazines. You get those extra 3 compared to being the rifleman. And yeah, I mean, and let's just say if you really wanted to stack up somewhere and get the bipod out, I could definitely see, definitely not me, because I wouldn't do well at it, not because I'm judging it, although I am judging it. Not me, but I could definitely see someone rocking that 4X on a hill with a buttload of ammo. And I know you might be thinking, why not just take marksman if you wanted to snipe? You won't have as much ammo as a marksman. So this is sort of like a flexible support class. That being said, you could still do the same thing with the 2X, but I guess if you wanted to be a Mr. Cool Sniper, the 4X does work as long as you're not being suppressed. Oh, interesting. And also, I will say, despite my misgivings of the 4X, it is a beautiful looking sight. I think in real life, I would be all about it. But that being said, I've never been suppressed by machine gun fire in real life. Okay, so moving on to marksman. All four rather, of these guns operate pretty differently from each other. So if you were to be stepping into this class, I would think real hard about what sight you're taking based on the gun that you're, because if you go to between these two, it's a pretty much given what type of sight you're going to take. And with this one, it's more or less the same. With marksman, a little bit more tricky. So obviously, if you're taking a bolt action, I mean, who's the pimp that's taking the 2X using the holographic sight and doing work with it? I mean, besides me, obviously. No, I would never be able to do this in a real match. I don't know, maybe I would. This is one of those things where I would love to see a player that's good at it. If you know a footage of somebody that works like this, let a brother know. That being said, the zoom on the 2X is pretty effective. I could see a player who maybe likes the flexibility of knowing that when he has to come off that hill or that sniper perch and he has to go in up close, he can go to that. I mean, I could see that, I suppose. But honestly, why am I even talking about this? Who even uses this gun? I wonder. I don't play as much PvP yet as I intend to, but maybe this is popular in PvP on big maps. I don't know. Does anyone even play big maps on PvP? I don't know. But so suffice to say, if you're going to be doing some long range shooting, you're probably going to want the 12x scope. And you could always take the angled sight just in case you need, because if for whatever reason they're coming up on your position, they're storming your hill, you might not be so quick to shoot them like that, but you have that option, so you can hurry up and pop one off on them. And actually, isn't that cool how with the angled sight you're already kind of right in the position to reload? I just noticed that. Interesting. I can't do it, but yeah. So the MK17 is, as I said in an earlier video, is one of my favorite weapons. My favorite weapons with my favorite loadout to come out with. Unfortunately, you can't take enough points to do it exactly how I like to do it in the shooting range. But this is what I like to do as of late. The angled sight, the 2X holographic. Oh wait, no, I can take it. I was on AP rounds. I'm a dummy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with the foregrip, boom. Sometimes I take it suppressed, but sometimes I don't. So this thing, as I said before, is ugly, but it's got 7.62, great recoil, great range, great accuracy, all of it, great damage. And with the foregrip, with the 2X on semi-auto. Oh, you evade me. You little jerk off. Yeah. It's so versatile. It's dangerous. On marksman, the ammo is a little limited. But this is the one where I'll never really flip this down. If I have to do some close range, I just pop over. I mean, I will move down a map like this. And I'm not trying to be cool. I feel like it looks kind of douchey to be like, oh, I got my gun angled because I played every Metal Gear. But yeah, it's a nice alternative to have that when you don't feel like swapping this down because you want to be able to pop off long range shots at any moment. Preferably hit. That is a dope loadout. But I mean, you could replicate this on just about any gun. I'm just saying the MK17 is where I like to do it. Well, and also on every gun that I like to use. So the same for the M39. I would do the same thing with the 2X and the angled sight. Although, if you were right, you can do the same thing as I was talking about with the M39 with the 2x and the angled right. Although it's important to note that if you were trying to do long range sniping, but you're not good at bolt action, or you just want a higher rate of fire, this is going to be your sniping king. Especially if you take the bipod with, 20 rounds, semi-auto, 12x scope. I mean, what's not to love if you're a sniper? Let's see if I can. And don't think that you need a bipod to fully stabilize this gun. If you actually go prone, it might not handle the recoil the same way, but as far as stabilizing your gun, like I'm using a virtual stock. I don't have a real stock, and I'm only shaking so much because I'm trying to talk while I do this, and I'm not breathing. Yeah, and if you can get the only reason why I can't go really low is because they have that barrier there. But if you're like me and you have the HTC Vive controllers, they're longer, and you can just plant them on the ground. And you know what? I could do it if I got on that hill, I think. Let's see. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah, I mean, you've essentially made your own bipod in real life, or even just the monopod. I'll keep the back controller on the floor, and I'll have my front controller on the floor if it works, but otherwise you have it lifted up just a little bit. And if you really want to get tricky, you slide your hand down the controller and just have your finger pointed up, resting on the trigger, so that your palm is, or say, as much of your arm/forearm and hand are on the floor as possible. Oh wait, no, actually, what am I thinking? You're shooting with your right hand, so yeah, you can game the system a little bit. I mean, is it really gaming the system? It's kind of what you might do in real life anyways. If you think about it, it's still a bipod. It's just a, I guess, vertical bipod instead of a horizontal. No, maybe vertical is not the right word, but you get what I mean. It's going lengthwise instead of widthwise, but it works. Something to think about. And also, the Volk equivalent to semi-automatic shooting with a marksman rifle is the SVD, and that thing only has 10 rounds per magazine, 2 magazines, and that sucks. So if you're playing co-op anyways, this is your move for effective sniping at range. And yeah, as far as marksman goes, don't, like I've said before, don't disregard the M16 just because it's basically in every single class. It has utility. It's the most flexible gun you're going to find there in said class. If it's support, you have 7 magazines and accurate fire burst or 3-round burst or semi-auto. In this case, as a marksman, you have way, way, way more ammo. And I can't stress how important that is. If you look at it, you get 35 rounds for the M40. You get 80 rounds for the MK17. You get 80 rounds for the M39, but you're going to get 120 rounds for the M16. You see how I paused there? I had to do some math because I'm slow, but that's a lot more bullets. Now, if you're shooting semi-auto and you're accurate, you have a pretty decent scope on there, you're going to do a whole lot of work. A whole lot of work with that. If you haven't used the M39 yet, that ammo runs out pretty fast if either you're doing a lot of killing or you're doing a lot of missing. Either way, there's something to be said about having a significant supply of ammo with a very big optic. And in case I need to state the obvious, you can't put a 12x scope on the M16 unless you're a marksman. There are limitations. So where all of these sights are available as a rifleman, that one isn't. So don't disregard that. It's and especially if you put a suppressor on it, like tons of ammo, you can put a bipod and the 12x. Like you're gonna do some killing with that if you're effective with it. Now, I may have been missing, but let's just say I was shooting on actual squads. That's a whole lot of accurate, well, mostly accurate fire that I was able to sustain only because I had 30 rounds in the magazine. And obviously, I kept a couple. And obviously, you have that 3-round burst. So, and that's the only gun that you're going to get a 3-round burst with that level of magnification. And actually, that's the only gun in the game. Right? Let's see. And Volk? No, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only gun that you're going to get a 3-round burst with a 12x scope. Personally, I don't use it, but that's because I don't do a whole lot of sniping with a 12x. Or I also don't even do a whole lot of 3-round bursts, but I'm guarantee you there are some players who would rock the shit out of that. Okay, so that does it for the optics for MARSOC. Now, we don't have to go through everything with optics-wise for the Volk, because for the most part, they mirror. I mean, they have all of the same optics. The only difference is some of them look different. This one is the most egregious offender for me. This is the Volk's red dot. You'll notice that it's not a dot. I can understand how maybe someone is able to see their target more clearly because the dot isn't actually on the target. They're able to see where the bullet, exactly on what the bullet is going to... I mean, I guess. Me, it's distracting and I don't like it. But it's just important to note, I would go through each one of these guns and tell you which optic that maybe you should put on which one, but honestly, based on what I've already said for the MARSOC guns, it'll pretty much speak for itself, and also, I'm not as familiar with the Volk guns as I should be to be giving such advice. But otherwise, the rest of them look the same. The angled sights look the same. I'm pretty sure they look the same. No, they don't look the same. Oh, right. Yeah, this is garbage. Like, that's an awful... Look, I can't... Wait, where's my sight? Oh, that's glitchy. Where'd you go? I see you there, but when I grab this, you're gone. Interesting. That's weird. Yeah, there's your angled sight. Kinda caca, if you ask me. I mean, it's not like I'm missing with it, but I'm also in a very relaxed state talking to you guys. Right, so apparently for Volk anyways, having the angled right sight with another sight somehow glitched it and made it all awkwardly angled. That might be fixed by the time you watch this video, or maybe I'm the only one that had that problem. I don't know, that was odd. But anyways, yeah, same deal for their specialist classes. They only have the red dot available, holographic sight. As for their support classes, same dealio, 4X, 2X, OEG, holographic sight. You know, I'll be honest with you, I might just want to shoot the PKM right now. But now pretend for a second that you're being ambushed by a guy who's got a PKM set up on a bipod who didn't forget to reload. That's interesting. And he's got a 2X holographic sight. Even if you get close up, you start advancing, he switches to his... Oh, goodness gracious. Makes my butthole pucker. Yep, and everything else is basically the same for their marksman class, except their 12x scope does look different. It has that that sleek Soviet block look. You know, aesthetically it's different, and also the sight picture is actually different. The sight. Oh wait a second. No, it's not. Oh, forgive me. It's their 4X scope that's different. It just has that little bullet drop indicator on the bottom. Not a big deal. I don't even know if anyone even uses that. I mean, I wouldn't know how to anyways. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Try everything out. Try every optic out. And you should also try out the ones that you're not into, because, as I always say, if you're going to be playing all of the game modes, it's only in co-op that you always get to use exactly what you want to use all the time. When you play anything else, you have to be prepared to use something that maybe you're not particularly fond of. And just, how do you know exactly what you like if you haven't tried everything out? Don't turn that into a gross joke, okay? Let's not go there. All right, I'll see you in the next one.